Welcome to The Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community, a space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You were just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Diana Colleen. Diana is a Canadian, Seattle-based psychedelic facilitator and writer whose work blends consciousness, healing, and social change. After profound transformation through psychedelic-assisted therapy, she developed a deep commitment to storytelling as a tool for challenging entrenched systems of power. Her work explores what humanity could become if empathy, contribution, and accountability replaced ego and competition. Through fiction, she examines the climate crisis, billionaire accountability, and the inner work required for meaningful change. Well, hello. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited about our conversation. And, I really feel that you provide a unique perspective, and I can't wait to delve deeper into this. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for being here. I'm doing great. My book launched yesterday, and it's a #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Wait, congratulations. Wait, just a day and
Thank you.
A #1 already?
#1 in Canadian literature.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
No, I'd love to check that out. So, just to start us off with, when you say that you wake up every day wondering how to make the world better for future generations, what feels most urgent to you right now? Because I really love having this frame of mind.
Yeah. Obviously the world is fairly crazy right now, and there's so many things that we could talk about. But for me, climate change is the #1 thing, because if we don't have a livable planet, all the other problems won't exist anyway. So we need to solve this. And I think that, kids these days feel like they don't have a future. They feel like the planet won't be around for like water and clean air might not exist in their future. And I think that's really sad.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that. Like, when did you start getting interested in like climate justice? Is this something that you even recognized even as a young child, or was it like older when you realized that this is what you wanted to focus on?
I think it entered my consciousness a long time ago. I have a pin from, I think it was, I want to say 1991.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the first year of Earth Day. I think
I didn't know that actually. Okay, I didn't realize that it was fairly recent. I mean, it was still a while ago, but I didn't realize that. I thought it's always been around. That's cool.
Yeah. So I went into a store in Vancouver, and they had all this Earth Day stuff, and I'm like, what is Earth Day? And I bought a t-shirt and a pin, and I was like, oh, this is really important.
Yeah.
I didn't really become an activist for climate change until the book, but I've always been kind of an activist for other things as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And can you share a bit about your journey that brought you from surviving trauma and poverty to becoming a writer and psychedelic facilitator that's focused on social change? I think this is a really cool journey that you had.
Yeah. So I was born into a family, very low income family. We lived kind of out in the boonies. We didn't have a television. We didn't have a telephone.
Yeah.
And we literally ate food out of garbage cans.
Okay.
So I know what being poor feels like.
Yeah.
And I've had other trauma. I was molested as a child. I experienced a sexual assault when I was 24 that just changed the entire trajectory of my life. And that was in 1999. And I packed up all of my stuff and moved to the United States in 2000, kind of right after the sexual assaults happened. And I kind of pushed everything down. I've always been the kind of person who just puts on a strong face and I can deal with everything. And by saying that, I don't deal with things. So everything was just stuffed down. And in 2018, it all sort of surfaced and I became suicidal. And it really scared me. Even though I didn't want to be here anymore, I knew there was something telling me that I needed to stay, but I needed help. And I had tried talk therapy in the past. I'd tried antidepressants. I'd tried other modalities, but none of them really helped me. And so I had heard about psychedelic-assisted therapy, but it's illegal. So it's really hard to find somebody who actually practices it. So I joined a meetup for plant medicine, and somebody at that meetup had treatment-resistant depression, and he was able to refer me to his therapist, and that saved my life. I 100% believe that therapist saved my life. And since then, I have trained as a psychedelic facilitator because I believe in it so much. I believe in the possibilities that it can change the world. And through my healing process, I've learned other tools to really help me. And one of those tools is meditation. So I have a daily meditation practice, and through meditation, I believe I received this book from the universe. Like the story came to me while I was meditating, and I think it was the universe asking me to write it.
No, that's so beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sorry about all of those things that you've had to endure in your life. And, I feel like it takes incredible courage and strength to like take those challenges and turn it into something positive where you're helping others too. And, do you feel like what you went through, like the traumas and just overcoming it, helps to give you more empathy and be able to like connect better with others?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I mean, suicidality in itself is like somebody who hasn't experienced that darkness. It's hard for people to understand what that actually feels like. And having been in that place, I understand what other people are going through, for sure. And also poverty. I mean, I live in a city that has a lot of unhoused, and it breaks my heart walking by these people living in tents. It absolutely breaks my heart, and I want to do something about that.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And, a little bit about myself. I grew up with like a lot of trauma too, and I could feel like really relate to like your story too. And I feel like that gave me that strength as well to like, when I grew older, it gave me more like, wanting to lean more towards activism, I think, in the sense that like I know what it's like to feel pain and like struggle, and I don't want to see other people being in pain or struggle if they don't have to. And I had studied sociology at UC Berkeley and learned like more injustices on a systemic level, and that's when I'm like, I want to see this because policy really impacts people. But is that something that resonates with you as well? Like why you wanted to become more active?
Absolutely. I majored in sociology as
Oh,
well.
you did? Okay, cool.
I did.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. The University of British Columbia.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah. And that definitely, that formed my personality,
Yeah.
for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that. And, I'd love to talk more about what you were just saying. So you've said that psychedelic assisted therapy saved your life. What shifted for you internally that made staying and engaging possible again for you?
So a couple of things. I think that psychedelics really connect you. So I think that that society right now is suffering from disconnection from other people, disconnection from yourself, disconnection from nature. And I think all three of those things are really important. And so psychedelics they have a way of showing you how you are connected to everyone else and everything on the planet. So that was a main thing. And also it really opened my heart. so empathy is a big thing. I've always been an empathetic person, but not towards myself.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it really showed me that I am love.
Okay.
And I didn't know that before. I didn't know that I am love. It's very different than I am loving. So yeah, it really showed me that that I can be loved and that I can love others, and that love is, I know it's so cliche, but love really is the answer to everything.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And thank you for sharing that. And I know we talked a little bit about this just a little bit ago, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about this more. But many people think of healing as more of like a private or individual act. So how did your healing begin to feel more political or collective?
I think that when I went through my training for being a facilitator, it really opened my eyes to why psychedelics were scheduled as Schedule 1 drugs, and why they haven't been studied, and that it just made me really angry. So for people who don't know about this, back in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s, psychedelics were being studied a lot for their potential to heal PTSD, addiction, and other things. And they were showing so much promise. And then the Vietnam War happened, and President Nixon saw the hippies. They were the ones that were taking psychedelics, and they were the counterculture. They were the ones who were protesting the Vietnam War. And he saw that as a threat, and he shut down all testing. He scheduled the drugs as Schedule 1 drugs, which means that you can't even study them. And the entire world followed suit. The entire world shut down studies on these drugs. And so now they're just starting to be studied again, and some countries are legalizing them for therapeutic use. But the potential to change society is absolutely mind-blowing. So if you think about our war veterans, they suffer from PTSD. They have much higher suicide rates than the average population. And this therapy can absolutely revolutionize how we treat our war veterans and the homeless, the unhoused population too. Like, addiction is huge in that population. And if we could have them have access to this type of therapy, we can get rid of homelessness. I think we can.
Yeah, no, I think that's really beautiful. And, I love like just your knowledge about the history of that too. And, something else I really love about your work is how you tie like billionaireism to mental health, which, I think is really fascinating. So you describe billionaireism not as success, but as a kind of mental illness rooted in extreme hoarding. So can you tell us, what do you mean by that? And why do you think this framing matters?
Yeah, so I think most people have either heard of or seen the show Hoarders. And when you see people whose houses are full of stuff, and it really impacts their life, and it impacts their families' lives, right? And we can see that is definitely a mental illness, and they can get treatment for that. Billionaireism, society looks at billionaires like they're heroes, like they're successful, and we should be like them. But I want society to change the narrative and look at billionaires like they have a mental illness. They hoard at such an extreme that it not only affects them, it affects every single person on the planet and the planet itself.
Yeah, no, do you think, because this is something that I think about too, but do you think that they even realize that? Because I'm even thinking like the show Hoarders. I used to like watching it myself too. But sometimes people don't realize that they are hoarding until like, people start addressing or like helping them to clean out. And afterwards they're like, oh, it feels so much better. Do you think like billionaires even have that awareness though of what might be going on with them?
I doubt it. I think that like we were talking about disconnection before. I think they're disconnected from reality, our reality. They have a completely different. They live in a completely different world than we do. So they're disconnected from us. They have to be disconnected from nature, or they wouldn't be doing, a lot. When it comes to climate change, we have roughly 3,200 billionaires in the world. If those 3,200 people changed their behavior, climate change would virtually be solved. Like they cause more emissions and detriment to the planet than 7 billion people combined. And but I don't know if they know that they're doing that, and they just ignore it, like they don't care because they don't care about us. So I don't think they think they're mentally ill.
No, but what do you think can help like make that connection stronger with like billionaires and like the rest of us? Because I just think it's so sad. I think just the rhetoric around like or what I see in the media of like billionaires wanting to make even more money, but being okay with people without food or even healthcare.
Right.
And for me, I'm like, how can you? I don't know. It just like, I guess because I don't really have much money too. I'm like, how could you be okay with someone struggling when you're okay financially?
Right.
So it's just like, what do you think can help with that? Just making more of a human connection with other people.
The psychedelic therapy.
Okay, that's awesome. How do you think that could help them?
So certain substances affect you in different ways. So psilocybin, which is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. That particular substance really helps people connect to nature. It's my first experience. It was incredible. I was in a forest with a facilitator, and like I could see the trees breathing. I could see how every single part of the forest was connected, and I was connected to it. It's really hard to explain a psychedelic trip to somebody, especially if that person hasn't had a psychedelic experience, but every experience is different. So it's hard to describe. So it's hard for me to say like how I felt connected to everything in the forest, but I did. And so like once you've seen that, you can't unsee it. So that particular substance would be amazing for the billionaires for them to shift their thinking and see the environment and see, what their actions are doing to the environment. And if they feel connected to the environment themselves, they know that they're hurting themselves. And then the other substance that is really amazing is MDMA. And that's the drug that opens your heart. And I think empathy is like so key. And I don't know any billionaires, but I think a lot of them just don't have empathy. They don't see that other people's suffering affects them. They don't understand that every human being on the planet is connected to each other. And if you hurt somebody else, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And, so something that I think people often do is have like misconceptions or even stereotypes of what it is to have so much wealth, and that they actually strive to make as much money as they can. So what do you think our culture gets wrong about wealth, merit, and winning, and who benefits from those narratives staying intact?
I think that people don't realize that as a society, we have a scarcity mentality. And I talk about this a fair amount. I realized, like, an author, Daniel Quinn, who wrote the book Ishmael, really opened my eyes to why society is the way it is. He talked about how we used to be hunter-gatherers and we didn't know where our next meal was coming from. And then when we became, an agrarian society, at that point, we could grow our own food, and we actually had enough food at that time because we could grow it. But that's when we started having hierarchies, and that's when we started having people in control of the food who locked up the food, and, other people didn't have access. And so when the period in our history where we actually had enough was when our scarcity mentality was formed. And I think with billionaires, it's just taken to an extreme that we think that there isn't enough for everyone, and so we need to get our own. So we see billionaires like as they're safe. Like, we don't feel safe because we think there's not enough. And if we could be a billionaire, we would be safe. And I don't think that wealth makes you safe. I think that's what the misconception is. Wealth does not make you safe. I mean, that these people have to have all these bodyguards, and they can't go out anywhere without being recognized. That's not safety. So I don't personally aspire to be a billionaire. And I don't need that much. Nobody needs that much.
I think it's challenging because I've been struggling with this a lot lately, actually. Because it just feeling icky, like about, having capitalist thoughts and stuff. Because, what I've been thinking is like, well, Denise, you live in a capitalist society, so you have to learn how to survive in capitalism. And like, for me to like, I've been struggling in the job market, and now I'm like trying to think like how to be entrepreneur and how to sell stuff, how to make money. I'm like, but it's that kind of like, I don't want to, think about money, but we do need money to survive. So I think there's that balance. So like, people, we do need the money to survive, but there comes a point where there's excess and like way too much. Like, you don't need that much money though. And I just don't know why they don't want to give to like take that excess and like give it to people. I think it goes back to what you're saying about the disconnection though.
Right? Yeah. Like the title of my book, They Could Be Saviors. Like, why don't they want to be the saviors of humanity? I don't understand that. Like, if I could solve climate change, if I could solve poverty, if I, like, I would do that. I think most of us would. So yeah, there's absolutely something mentally wrong with people that have that much money. And they're, like, if I walk by a homeless person, I want to help. And these people are walking by, billions of people every day. They know are suffering, and they're not doing anything about it. I cannot understand that either.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And, with that, I'd love to talk with you more about your book. So your novel, They Could Be Saviors, imagines billionaires being forced into psychedelic therapy. So why did you feel that fiction felt like the right container for this kind of conversation?
I think stories have a way of staying with people. So like lectures and like nonfiction, I think that sometimes you get the information, you're like, but it kind of, when it's too academic, it kind of doesn't stick with you. But stories stick. I remember books that I read when I was, 10 years old. I remember the story. So the message is very, very memorable. And I think that stories give us a way to imagine what's possible. So there are some stories that, some dystopian, Handmaid's Tale, all these other books that I almost feel like because we read them, we manifested what we're going through now, because it showed us that. So I want. Right? It's crazy, but I really do believe that the more we ingest, like the more negativity that we ingest, it gets into our brains, and then we make that happen as a society. And so I want hope.
No, I wonder about that too. Like, the what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like with that too, like, is it our reality that like created this kind of fiction, or like fiction is what like shaping our reality? Because I've also watched The Handmaid's Tale. Still have to read it. I actually have the book, but it just makes me think like, wow, we're not there yet. But it's so scary to see how like we're getting to there. And I remember reading like seeing an interview with the author, and she was saying that like she like based it off of like fact, like things that actually happen. So I think that too. And I think that also about like technology, like do people like make up technology and entertainment and then like these people like, oh, this would be a cool technology, or like
Yeah.
vice versa. So
Yeah,
it's interesting just to see
absolutely.
that connection between reality and fiction. And I'm a believer that sometimes reality is stranger than fiction though.
Oh, for sure, especially especially now. Like
I know.
if somebody wrote what was
I
happening now,
know.
people wouldn't believe it.
I
Yeah.
know. No, I actually think that too. I'm like, you like can't make something like this up. Like, and it feels like every day. Like, I think I saw like someone talking about
Yeah.
that too. Like, there's so much that happens. We don't even have a chance to like breathe and like take in like what happened
Yeah.
because the next day is something huge, another, thing that we have to go through.
But I think that's by design. I
You
think
think
that
so? Okay.
I think that
Okay.
is what their goal is, so that it's like we're frogs in the boiling water, right?
Right,
The
right.
more stuff that's happening, the more we normalize it.
Yeah.
So when we see somebody being murdered by federal agents,
Yeah.
we're like, oh, stuff happens. Like
I know.
we should
Right.
like if it was a normal
Yeah.
world still,
Hmm.
that would have been it. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
No,
now
that's so
because there's so
sad.
much
Yeah.
happening, we're like, oh, more
I
stuff,
know.
and we're exhausted, and we're
I
like, well,
know.
I don't know what I'm going to do about this.
No,
Like,
because
what
it's
can I do?
yeah, because it's like just like a little blip in the news. Like we just it pass it. And I've been thinking about that too.
Hmm.
Like I remember Columbine when that happened. It was so big and like the
Oh, it
news
was
cycles, yeah.
huge.
But like there came a point
Yeah,
where there were so many mass shootings that it just kind of like, oh, another one. And then
yeah,
like I
yeah.
started getting, or even the police killings, during like Black Lives Matter movement when it was like
Hmm.
getting really big. And just like it's so sad that there's been so many killings that I get confused of like what one. It just like it that's what
Right.
breaks my heart. Like there's so
Yeah.
many that I don't remember the details of, which one happened. But I remember Columbine,
Right.
like it like everyone
Me
was talking about
too.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, yeah, school shootings are a daily occurrence, and we don't
No,
even
it's
hear
sad.
about some of them,
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
actually,
Yeah.
I have a 10-year-old daughter and she's in elementary school and she
Oh,
told me that they actually have drills of what to do when a bad person comes into the
right.
school and the teacher was talking about, oh, I have a ladder, just in case we need to go out the window. But it's so sad. It's like they talk about it like it's a fire drill and that's like just something,
Right.
yeah, it just
It's
was like, wow, I
heartbreaking.
know. So she was just saying, yeah, my teachers told me sometimes scary people could come into the school and this is what we should do. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. My husband's daughters were at Parkland
Oh,
during the
wow.
shooting.
Oh
So yeah,
no.
school shootings are
Okay.
really close to my heart. Like
Oh, I'm so sorry.
it's yeah, what it does to our
Yeah.
children. Like
Yeah.
the ones that are there, obviously it's absolutely traumatic, but like your daughter, it's like
Yeah.
we didn't have anything like that when we were growing up. We just went to school and saw our friends and had a nice day. And now like our children are being traumatized
Yeah.
going to school.
Hmm.
It's absolutely insane. It's insane.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. I'd love to talk with you more about like using fiction as a vehicle for change. So, what do you think that fiction allows us to explore about accountability and transformation that policy debates or op-eds often can't?
I think it allows us to sort of examine ourselves, right? So
Mm,
when we're looking at billionaires, we can go, well, if I was a billionaire, I would do this,
okay.
and they shouldn't be doing that. But why don't we look at ourselves and go,
Yeah.
what privilege do I have right now?
Hmm.
And how can I use that privilege to help other people?
Yeah.
So examining our own lives through a lens of fiction, I think
Yeah.
is
No.
really important.
No, I really love that too. And I think that's what I've learned in my own journey too. Being a woman of color, but like also realizing in what areas am I, in the oppressed group and in what areas am I more like the, privileged group. So I'm thinking like, I've done a lot of work around like disability justice and learning like what are the privileges that I have as an able-bodied woman. But is that something that you've been able to do in your own life too? Like just like acknowledging what kind of privileges you have, especially in this current society.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Like I came from a very underprivileged
Right.
background.
Right.
And so now that I am very privileged at this point in my life, and sometimes I feel really guilty about it. It's and that's a struggle for me. Is like, okay, what do I do to kind of alleviate my guilt? So how can I give back to society, because I have benefited so much from it, and I wish that everyone would think about that. How can you give back? It's not all about you. It's not all about getting for you. You have to give back. And I heard somebody say a little while ago that hope is the consequence of action. So if you want to have hope in your life, you actually have to do something.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then it's also like, it's getting uncomfortable, because it's like having these conversations that we don't want to have, or even like having these internal dialogues with ourselves that make us not feel that great, because I think people don't like to think they're privileged sometimes. And I think this, it's just like, I'd love to just, talk with people, like we shouldn't carry that guilt, but more like what you were saying, like, what can we do with our privileges rather than just feeling guilty, but how can we use our, statuses or whatever to like benefit other people? I think that's a really beautiful approach that you have.
Right. Well, like my book, I I feel guilty that I was able to publish this book, that I was able to quit my job. I quit my full-time job to write this book. Most people can't do that. Like that's just, And then I hired an editor. An editor costs thousands of dollars. Most people can't afford that. All the people that I had to hire in order to get this book published cost a lot of money. So the idea, there's so many people in the world who have brilliant ideas, and they don't have the opportunity to bring them into the world. So I feel guilty that I was able to do this because of my privilege, but I'm trying to make a difference in the world. I'm trying to use that privilege to change the world for the betterment of everybody.
And I love that too. And I wish more people did feel that, like that. Like, how we were talking about billionaires as well. And, I'm even thinking about this political climate. I don't know how you lean, but like for me, it's just thinking about like, how do we show up for people who it's dangerous right now to, like go to protest or something. So it's just like, how can we like show up in solidarity and be out in the streets when, they are really like putting their lives on the line, and, is not something that I want folks to do. But, that's what I think a lot about, like, how can we show up in solidarity for folks, even though we might not identify with the certain groups that we're, just standing with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know that like posting on social media is a way. And, putting frames on your profile picture is something. It's something, and it's better than nothing. But I really want people to understand that to make a real difference, you have to do more. You have to get off of the screens. You have to get outside. You have to go into your community and do something.
No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So, just going back to the book, were there moments when writing this book that you surprised yourself, or were there times when you were like actually writing the book and you learned something new yourself?
I learned a lot about myself.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool. I'd love to hear about it.
I did. Cool. So I've always given up on things. In my past, I've tried some other kind of big things where I thought that I could make a difference, and I've always, when I've encountered, obstacles, I've just given up instead of pushing through those obstacles and caring enough to continue. So this was the first time that I didn't give up. There were so many moments where a lot of people would have given up. So many. And I was like, no, this is way too important. And it's not about me. Like Diana Colleen is my pen name. So it's not about me, the author,
Okay.
it is about the message. And it's not about me selling books and making money. I want people to read this book because of the message. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And I love to talk more about hope too. I know that you just brought that up. So you talk about hope not as optimism, but as a practice. So, what does collective hope look like to you right now in real life?
Oh, collective hope. It's really hard to find right now, right? So I think that people are really struggling to find hope in this world. And I want people to grab onto the small stuff, because the small stuff will turn into bigger stuff. So if you see one good thing in the world, celebrate that good thing, tell other people about that good thing, and that's a way that you can actually make an impact. But like I was saying before, hope is the consequence of action. So if you want to have hope in your own life, if you see something that needs to be changed, work towards changing it.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And actually, that's the whole reason why I wanted to start this podcast in the first place, too, because I feel like there's so much negativity and the media keeps like pushing all these like negative stories on us. But I feel like there's a lot of people that feel lost. But, I feel like I've been blessed. Like, I know amazing people because I've worked with nonprofits for like pretty much all my professional career and know a lot of amazing activists. So I'm just like, I would really love to just get us together in a space and show people like, yeah, there's a lot going on, but there's so many wonderful and beautiful people out there doing amazing work. And, hopefully my listeners can also be like, oh, I can make a difference too. Because I feel like sometimes people want to, but just don't know how to. And yeah.
Well, I think like people think that one person can't make a difference, but I like to give the example, and it's a small thing, but it really makes a difference. So be the kind person in the world. So I talk about, like, if you go into a Starbucks and the barista is rude to you, and then you go out, you get upset in yourself because somebody was rude to you. So then you go out into the world and you're rude to other people. And then those people feel crappy inside of themselves and they're rude to more people. So that one person who may have been rude to you because somebody was rude to them. So be the person who stops that and is kind. So if somebody's rude to you, be kind back. Or just be kind in general, like make somebody's day, give somebody a compliment. Just giving somebody a compliment changes the world, because when you tell somebody something wonderful about themselves, they feel amazing. They're like, wow, that feels so good. They're happier. They're going out into the world and their behavior is different because you were kind to them. So that's how you can change the world. One person can make the world a kinder place.
No, I believe that too. I feel like that's what I'm hoping for the podcast too. Like, we can really change the world one story at a time, but also I believe we could change the world, like you were saying, one act of kindness,
absolutely,
at a time. And I want people to know that no act of kindness is too small. Like, just, even say hi with a smile. Don't think that anything is too small. Like, you don't know what a person might be going through. Maybe you were the light of the day when they had like a really bad day. So
yeah, somebody might be feeling suicidal, and you tell them something nice, and they might actually have some kind of hope that, oh, life isn't that bad and people do care about me. You don't know. You have no idea what your actions are doing to somebody else. And that goes both ways. If you're rude to somebody, you don't know if they're already suicidal, right? So just be kind.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And, I'd love to hear from you about this. So for listeners who feel overwhelmed or powerless in the face of climate collapse and inequality, where do you think that agency begins?
So I kind of struggle with that because I personally do as much as I can for the environment, but I'm not perfect, right? So like I love to travel, and I know that traveling is not great for the environment, but I consciously didn't have children because I know that the planet doesn't need more people. There's plenty of people to adopt. And I'm not saying that that's right for everybody, but for me, that was my choice. And I eat plant-based because that is the number one thing, like if you eat plant-based, you are doing so much for our planet just by changing what you eat. I use like solid shampoo and conditioner. I try really hard to limit my plastics, but like I was saying before, 7 billion people, if we all try and change our behavior, it's still not going to make as much difference as 3,200 people changing their behavior. Like, why is the onus on us not to buy the plastic instead of the onus being on the producers not to make it in the first place?
No, that's a really good idea. And it's just or like, I love what you say, because I just feel like there's so much hypocrisy too, and just like even like, things being pulled back that was actually good for the environment. I'm like, what? It felt like we're going the positive direction. Why did we go backwards on this? It just blows my mind.
So that's why I struggle. It's like, yes, we should be doing more. But I think if more people start talking about how me recycling isn't going to make a difference, but billionaires stop using their private jets, that makes a difference. Like one billionaire's private jet, just the jet, is more emissions than like 5,000 individual lifetimes. Just their jet.
Wow.
So why am I being told to take a shorter shower?
Wow. I'd love to talk with you about like what you hope for the future. What kind of future do you most hope that people can imagine after reading your book or after listening to this conversation?
I kind of always go back to Star Trek.
Okay, I love that.
I love Star Trek, but like that when I think about the future and starting as a kid when I was watching Star Trek, that future is possible where all races get along, where all people get along, and technology is there for humans to like. The technology does the stuff that humans don't want to do so that humans can be creative and do what humans do best, and that we can all live in a world where we all have shelter and food and nobody's worried about survival. And that's what I want. I want suffering to end. There's absolutely no reason for all of the suffering in this world. There really isn't. This planet is abundant. There is enough for everyone. We just have to change the systems.
No, I really love that. And so like you were saying too, like I feel like having differences isn't like a bad thing though. Like, I'm happy to talk to someone who has like different political views than myself. And I feel like having healthy dialogue, healthy conflict, but I don't know, I just feel like how it is right now, it just feels like it's so unhealthy and really divisive. So, I think it's like how can we like have our differences but still like, be in unity in terms of like, just us wanting a better world together.
Right. Yeah. But I think that if you ask anyone, nobody wants other people to suffer. Right. So how do we build on that most human beings do not want other human beings to suffer. So that's something that we would agree on, and we can start from there and talk about how we can reduce suffering. And it doesn't have to be political, right?
Right.
If everyone looks at every other person as a human being, and there's no human being that is disposable, that's a mindset that we have to get into, to start thinking that way, that those people that you see on TV, those are actual like human beings, just like you.
Right. No, actually, I've been having conversations with people about that, and I think that it is a tactic, I think, by people in power to like dehumanize and make people think that they're not human because when it gets that way, I feel like people are okay doing like inhumane things to people. Like some
Yeah.
of the things I'm like, how can you be
Yeah.
okay with like, kids being zip tied or, that's one example. There's like so
Right.
many things like,
Yeah.
how can you be okay with this? I think it's just like telling people that they're like less than human. Like I feel like they don't use that
Mhm.
same terminology, but still like in that way, like there's that dehumanization of folks, definitely like they're
Absolutely.
criminals, they're this and like labeling people as not human. And that's what
Yeah.
makes it like suffering okay for people, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And it's like that frog in the boiling water.
Right.
Because we
Yeah.
see it so often that we and it's like we're watching movies, right? Like I
Yeah.
think
No,
that
totally.
that
Totally.
screens make it
Mhm.
like, oh, that's not real.
Yeah.
That these are actual real people that
Yeah.
this is happening to.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I had such a wonderful time talking with you today, but before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So, when you imagine the generations coming after us, what do you most hope that they inherit from us, and what do you hope that we leave behind for them?
Empathy.
Okay, I love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
empathy should be taught in schools. I can't remember if it was Denmark. I just
Hmm.
read somewhere that maybe it's Finland, but
Okay.
starting in kindergarten, they actually teach their children empathy
Oh,
and
that's cool.
mindfulness.
No, that's
So
cool. Yeah, because
yeah,
I
like
wonder
why
when
why
Peter.
aren't we?
No, actually, because I just assumed this was happening elsewhere, but at least in the Bay Area and Southern California, schools are teaching. Because my daughter went through this too. They have like what they call social emotional learning, and they talk
Oh,
about those kind of
okay.
things. Yeah, do you have things like that in your schools? Yeah,
I
like locally,
honestly
because
don't
yeah, because they
don't
they
know.
have like
Yeah.
curriculum around that. I don't know like empathy specific, but what I think is really cool though, they're like actually focusing on the emotional well-being of students, and I think that's
Wow.
that's really cool. So at least that's something
Yeah.
that's happening in California. I don't know how widespread it is though.
Oh, see, like that is world changing. If we
Yeah.
can get that curriculum into every school,
Hmm.
uh, I think that will change the world. So that gives me hope.
No, no, and I think it's
It
just it's
does.
good too because it's not like punitive. So my daughter, like, not to go into details, but she was having some conflicts with some friends at school, and the school therapist talked to me and was just saying like, they sat the kids down and had them like have conversations with each other about how they're feeling and what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. And I'm like, that's really cool that you're actually talking to the kids and not just like
Yeah,
punishing them over something.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
teaching kids how to actually deal with their emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't learn all that when I was in
No,
school,
me
and what a
neither.
difference that would make.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
because I worked in this like youth development AmeriCorps program in the Bay Area. And so that's when I first heard about SEL or social emotional learning. And then to actually have my daughter in the school system and her going through that, I'm like, wow, this is really powerful that they're doing this.
that's
And I hope that's
great.
something that they don't cut eventually. It's really
Right?
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but seriously, that gives me hope. Like to hear that is in some schools is fantastic, and we need to have
Yeah.
that in every school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree. But, thank you again. I had such a wonderful time talking with you. And, thank you for sharing your insights, wisdom, and stories. But just lastly, how can people connect with you if they'd like to, yeah, or how can people find you if they'd like to connect with you?
Yeah, my website is dianacolleenauthor.com,
Okay.
and I would love to, like, if you're in a book club, if
Okay.
at least five if at least five members buy the book, I will come to your book club meeting via
Wow.
Zoom, or
Okay,
if you're in the
cool.
Seattle area, in person, and we can discuss the book because there's a lot to discuss, like
Yeah, no, I'd love
in
to
the
get a
book.
copy for myself too. And, again, congratulations on the success of it, being released, yeah, recently. And I wish you much more success in the future. But thank you again for sharing this platform with me. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful. You're
Yeah.
you're a great host. Thank
No,
you.
thank you. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Okay. Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean back, it's a brand new day. And every time I feel so down that a frown is